Our health problems in the Western world cannot really be blamed upon a single food. And I'm going to chat with you guys a little bit about this today. And it's really dishonest when you see people who are either in the fitness field or who are a medical doctor who get up and they make videos, they write articles, they write books trying to blame a single food for our health problems and our obesity problems. Because we need to be clear, almost every one of the health problems that we talk about, that everyone talks about, they're all directly related to obesity. They're not because of other things going on. So we need to understand what is driving the obesity epidemic. Because when we look at everything from, say, low testosterone, it's not vaccines, it's not plastics in your environment, it's nothing like that causing it. The experts have determined the drop in male testosterone is completely related. The primary factor is the obesity epidemic. Okay, that's it. Cardiovascular disease, heart disease, number one killer. And then right behind it would be diabetes, cancers. Okay. Cancer is the only one that isn't primarily caused by obesity. Obesity is a massive factor. Okay, it is a massive factor. Again, being obese pretty much increases your chances of getting most types of cancer multifold over. Several times over, you dramatically increase your chances. In some cases, 5, 6, 10 times as high of a rate. Okay, given whatever your genetic factors, but there are other factors, smoking, different carcinogens that impact it. But the other two, we can squarely blame on obesity and then foods that cause insulin resistance or foods that cause elevated LDL. But they're all tied together, aren't they? Right? So what foods even cause insulin resistance? Refined sugars and saturated fat. It's been demonstrated in the lab over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay? Not really much debate there. But, people will point out, but that's not always what people are eating that get as obese. Well, they're usually a big part of their diet. But then you combine obesity with that, and then we have a real problem. Cardiovascular disease, almost entirely caused by body fat. And then combination of things going on with lipids and other stuff. So when we start talking about our health problems and declining health, we need to just call it what it is. We're fat. We're fat. So, and people always like to point out, well, we're more sedentary, except that as many notice, how many people who have very physically demanding jobs are still obese? A ton of them. So no, you can't blame it on that. So here's the problem. Everyone likes to try to pin this stuff down, this one food. And there'd be whole books written by doctors on this. Well, they can't all be right. Because oftentimes they can contradict each other. But keep in mind, medical doctors are not, their expertise is not nutrition. So keep that in mind for one. So you see that all the time, and they create massive, massive followings. It'll be grains. It'll be vegetable oil. It'll be saturated fat, animal fats. It'll be table sugar. Some cases it'll even go as far as blaming vegetables, which is, again, no one who's read any science could possibly draw that conclusion. That would be as silly as saying tapeworms cause obesity. No, you usually lose weight. Same with vegetables. Higher vegetable intakes are always associated with lower body fat. Always, across the board, every country. So what's really driving it? It's a combination of a number of those things along with our social environment. All right, access to hyperpalatable calorie-dense foods. In order to achieve that, you have to have one of these two combinations. Hyperpalatable means either it combines a very strong sweet sensation with a very strong fatty sensation, like when you taste it. The other combination is savory, so that would be salty plus fat. So there we see clearly where both various oils, but animal products, butter, high-fat meats, cheese, all that fit in. Uh, refined sugars are definite. Okay, I mean, think of what are the most hyper palatable things you can think of: pizza, right? Cheese, ice cream, candies, cakes, pies. Okay, look at all these different foods, the things that people gorge on. They're one of those two combinations, but they're always high fat. We need to be clear on that. In order to create calorie-dense hyperpalatability, we have to have dietary fat. Doesn't necessarily require sweet, but it would then require savory and salty. So that's where things like a pizza, hamburger, whatever comes in. French fries. Yeah, a lot of those fried foods are salty and they're fatty. Right there's your culprits. This is what causes us to overeat. These foods, they're hyperpalatable, thus we have a tendency to want to eat more of them. And they're calorie dense. They have very, very high energy density, and the fat's always required because all of our fat in humans comes from fat we eat. We don't readily store carbohydrates, and I'm not going to go into all the math on that again. 99% of the fat on your body, this has been confirmed many times, comes from fat you eat. But, very refined carbohydrates, particularly refined sugars, can contribute enormously to what? The calorie load. Okay? And can contribute to the overeating. All right, what else contributes? How about the way that we use food as a society? How many people are like, oh, I can't eat bland food, it's all got to be taste amazing all the time? Well, if everything's tasting amazing all the time, that's why you're eating it. That's why you're eating too much of it. Okay, that's a big factor. It's a little harder to overeat blander foods, isn't it? But that mindset. How about culturally? How do we treat food? All our celebrations are built around gorging. We associate it with family, friends, social events. We have a positive reinforced association with gorging. Okay, socially reinforced. What else do? We use food as a reward. So anytime you've made it, we're taught this as children. Use food as a reward whenever you've achieved something, whether at work, school, personal, right? Any celebration, any victory is food. Usually treat foods. Cake, pizzas. How about when you're having a bad day? When you're having a bad day, you really deserve that treat food. Makes you feel better. We use it to soothe ourselves. See the problem with this whole combination? It isn't that complicated. People keep trying to blame single foods without looking at the big picture. This whole food access, the way that we have built the food industry, combined with our socially ingrained behavior, this is what causes it. And in order to undo it, you have to break that cycle as an individual. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.